Hey there, it is Monday. This is Karen. I'm Karen, and I'm at, I don't know, No Name Farm. We can't think of a name for this place. So No Name Farm did become Hot Rod Gardens. It's okay, but it's a combination of what he's trying to achieve and what I'm trying to achieve on the property. It'll work. We have all kinds of visions of cool things on the farm, on the property. Gardens and landscaping and buildings and hot rods, and that's what my husband does, and all kinds of stuff, but we just can't come up with a name. So anyway, for the time being, I just thought I'd explain to you what I'm up here trying to do today. It's really pretty. It's about 73 degrees here in Kentucky, and it's not going to last long, so you always have to take advantage of the days when you get them. But I'm going to turn the camera around and show you this hillside that is the most cleared off other than the garden space, which we're going to put on hold for a while. We're just going to bring dirt over in the garden space that we have set aside, and we're going to start composting and get that ready. But we have to get a building up. That's priority. But in the meantime, what I can do is plant this hillside. And you know, it's funny because we were on YouTube last night looking at the stations that have, like, you know, 20-year-old and long-term garden spaces they've been working on forever, and you just sit there and look at it and you go, I can do that. So you get all excited about coming up here and starting it. If I could do anything close to like what I had in my yard at the old house, I'd be thrilled. But this is raw. This is something I've not done before. I'm not saying it can't be tackled, and I'm going to learn along the way, but I'm dealing with, you know, but dealing with a cleared space that had nothing but a thick forest of cedar trees and wild trees and everything under the sun that grows up in property that's not taken care of, not been inhabited. So anyway, when we cleared this off with the excavator and the just raking stuff and cutting the trees up, I knew that this day would come when I was going to go, okay, where can I put the hibiscus? Where can I put the phlox? Where can I put the lilies and the grasses and the ground covers and the roses, and it goes on forever. And the biggest thing here is deer. So, you know, everything you look at and read and research says, yeah, it's deer resistant unless you have a hungry deer. So anyway, I'm not stupid about that, and I'm going at this with some caution, but yet I'm just going to start. You know, once we live up here, I guess that'll deter some of the, you know, some of the deer, because there's activity going on, but, you know, there's nighttime, and that's when they get you. So I don't know. I'm just going to start. If nothing else, we have no choice but to do this too because of erosion. So I'll turn the camera this way and show you let me get it a little bit better. I kind of want to make sure that, so the edge of the driveway, the swell of the driveway, was, you know, heavily affected. It's already losing dirt, and we knew that. But now I've got to go ahead and think about ground covers and grasses. And then when you get the grasses in, you got to take it back out to put your plants in and mulch and make beds. So I'm trying to not waste money and not waste time and resources. But anyway, all the way to the top. That's kind of my plan. But I'm starting today right here. And this is kind of the thing I'm dealing with. These roots all have to be cut back. And then, you know, we're still into deep, cool temperatures at night sometimes. And who knows? Our last frost date's not until, you know, May 1st. They have pushed it back to May 1st. It used to be the 15th of April, best I understand and know. But anyway, a lot of this is great. It's great dirt. You know, you dig in it and it's crumbly and dark and it's got worms already floating through it. But my goodness, there's a lot to plan. And if anybody has suggestions, if you've done this, I am all ears. You can only look at so many YouTube channels and other people's advice, or not advice, but other people's suggestions, until you just say, I just have to dive in. This is my space. This is what I want to create. So off and running. Here we go. And I will, I'll show you. I did buy, it's pretty funny. I went to a landscaper out this way. I don't know any of them, so I went to introduce myself and ask questions about fruit trees and berry bushes and all the things. And I left there with a blue star juniper. I couldn't help myself. And it's ridiculous because really I need the greenhouse to start flats of things like phlox and ground covers, but you know, you can't be a gardener and walk in a greenhouse and walk in a landscaping center and walk out with nothing. So that's what I did. And I do have things that I brought from my old yard that I planted. I just transplanted them out here when we first started moving around out here in a big pile of really good dirt, and they're all coming up. So I'll plant some of those, just some field lilies and some wild geranium that I'm sure the deer are just gonna say, hey, it's smorgasbord. But what do? You know, you start and you give it a shot. Maybe I can find a radio, one of those little rock radios, landscape radios that has a voice that pops on, and we'll just keep it on. Or maybe I'll put some sprinklers and squirt them. They say when they get used to that, they'll still come around. So anyway, I know all that, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I'll show you when I plant my blue star juniper among this chaos of things that'll just make it disappear into the ground. But anyway, I'll have fun, and it's beautiful, and I'll enjoy it. So I'll show you later. Bye. Hi, how are ya? Today's Saturday morning. It's going to hit 50 degrees today, and I've decided to get back out here and attack this piece of hill again. I haven't been here but a few minutes. I did have to come out here earlier today, and I got my first big pile of wood chips delivered. It's the small things that makes me happy. Had it delivered at the bottom of the hill from a guy who, an arborist around here, and you know, I have to meet him out here when it's convenient to him, because we still have a cable across the driveway, as we're not living here still. So anyway, came back out and brought all my junk, and this piece of the hill today I'm going to attack this area right above my head here that's not been cleared at all as far as the small debris. But that tree's going to stay. That is a plum tree. No, it's not a plum tree. It's an Osage orange tree. I learned later. It's really pretty cool. It's got little baby plums on it. Yeah, when it gets rolling and awakes and comes alive. But from that plum tree to that cedar tree I'm going to clear all that junk out. But I did start the other day, and I planted this blue star juniper, and I had a little minor accident, so I didn't get to finish much that day, but that's not even a story for conversation. Stupidity and respective machines must be had here. Stupidity can't have it. Respective machines gotta have it. Anyway, I found this little blue star juniper and stuck it in the ground here, and it's one of the very first one to go in, and it's no biggie. But and as I said, it's gonna just kind of shrink into, like, if I didn't point it out, you wouldn't even know it was here. But it takes time to get all this done, and I did put a few irises up here. So anyway, over here in that space is where we're going to begin. And between the time I was here last and now, I think I've got a pretty good idea of how I can handle this and how I can tackle it. It does need to have some swells put in place, and some that I can just do with just building up some dirt, and not big swells or berms, just some redirected water tunnels, so to speak. And then I'm going to have Roger, when he gets the excavator up here Monday morning, pick up some rocks around the place that we've already set aside from other fun times of digging around the property. But I'll make some barriers, maybe even somewhat of a little wall. Don't have a lot of rocks collected yet, and that's going to take some time, because Roger has a lot more things that he needs to get done with that excavator next week than dig up rock, but there are plenty around here. So I'll be putting some not like big walls, just some pretty retaining type walls that'll serve a purpose. And then I think and there's a couple flat spots up here that I've been thinking about that will have, gosh, it does look like nothing right now except for just nature, but some flat spots where I'm going to put some benches, and I'm going to put some grasses in. Deer won't touch the grasses. I've learned a lot in the last 2 or 3 days about shrubs and evergreens and plants, flowers even, that I can go ahead and put in out here. And as I've said before, nothing's safe from the deer, but maybe some of these things will be, now that I've learned a little bit more about what they don't like texture-wise or taste-wise or smell-wise. So it may be a deterrent. And really, they kind of hang out. I know they're all over the place. I'm not dumb. But they do kind of hang out at the top of the hill up there. Over actually, that direction is the back of the little pond that's up there. And that's, of course, their water source. And they do cut across here. But I don't see a lot of activity. I don't see footprints anywhere up through here of deer. So maybe they'll leave some of what of it alone, as long as there's nothing here to attract them smell-wise. But I'm going to put some bird feeders in through here. I'm going to put a swing up in the trees places. I'm going to put some solar lights for some nighttime lighting. I'm just so excited. I can't wait to get started. So right now I'm going to start clearing out with my weed eater and my chainsaw, and I'm ready to go. So I'll show you back in here in a little bit exactly how much was done. Talk to you in a little bit. So this insert to explain a few things about me working out here on the property, since we're in the middle of working on this hill, and there have been a few things occur that I feel like is worthy of a conversation. So behind me is my little tool, my little Bodie, our little Kubota zero turn mower, and is Big Bodie, the Kubota tractor that Roger maintains and takes care of and uses on the regular, building out here, this building, as well as on the grounds. This zero turn has saved the day out here with this 16 acres, and has been a wonderful tool to use, as well as has my little holster chainsaw. So I know it's not the wisest thing to be video recording in the car, but I'm very safe and I'm not going fast. So the reason for being inside the dark building is it's cold outside, and all of the tools that I wanted to mention we stopped using, of course, mid-December, I guess. Roger still uses the tractor when he's out there, but we didn't have a chance. We are running like 24/7 between jobs and trying to get this house built. We've had a ton of downtime because of the snow that we all got in the region. But at the end of the season of using all of those pieces of machinery and tools, they just got laid down. So the first thing that needs to be done with those now is to service them and to clean them, and that'll get done. But I thought it might be helpful for what I call rookies, and that's no criticism of anybody, because I'm putting myself at the top of that list. I am a rookie when it comes to using tools that have a small motor or that have a sharp blade, whether it be a small clippers for a twig, or whether it be a wire cutter, or whether it be a razor blade for that matter, pair of scissors. I have always been told that I am a bull in a china shop. So I put myself at the top of the list of someone who should listen up. But I also thought that because so many people are, kind of flocking to homesteading or farming or just developing a small garden in their backyard, that it's wise to consider and think about using a tool and keeping yourself safe. In my situation, I learned the hard way with a small hand tool when I was given for my birthday the little holster chainsaw for small branches, saplings, and small branches. I was really excited about it. So I got out there right out of the get-go and had gloves on, had decent thickness leather type gloves on, but I'd never used it before. And Roger, all along the way, Roger's the one that gave it to me for my birthday, but I had to convince him. We got in a little spat about it because I'm like, why can you buy all the tools you need, but I need a tool that's really helpful, and you stick your nose up at it because it's a $300 tool. Well, I don't think that was the reason he stuck his nose up at it, because he did give in and I got it for my birthday, but I did have an accident with it. And thank God it was a tiny accident. But when he shook his head, when I showed him what had happened, he said, I knew I shouldn't have gotten that for you. Which was an insult, but it was also his trepidation at someone like me who is always at high speed. I rarely slow down. I do everything quickly, and usually 3 and 4 things at a time. But that's all he really meant. And honestly, I learned the hard way, but it was learning the respect for tools that I needed. So I often say, thank you, Jesus, for making that a real small cut on my thumb instead of cutting my thumb off. So when I, am putting together this video to show you the beginning of the hillside that I've created, that's where this little accident happened. And I just had visions of that accident when I was putting this together, and I thought, maybe it does make sense to kind of mention a few things when you do decide to venture out into the woods and do all of the I guess the word I can use is developing of the property, because it's a good idea to mention it so that somebody else might think about it before they make a stupid move like I did. I'm not embarrassed about it, to be honest with you. I was mortified at first. As a matter of fact, I didn't show Roger for like 2 days because I had it bandaged, and I kept it bandaged inside a glove because I'm a hairdresser, and so the first day out I'm like, I've got to go get my hands in water. So I had waterproof tape on it, but I had to keep it on there for 2 weeks before this picture that's in here started, or shows you that it's starting to heal. But anyway, the moral of the story is I was by myself. I was excited to start cutting down things so that I didn't have to wait for Roger to use whatever he was going to use, because we had just purchased it, and the only other tool like that was a large chainsaw. So I needed to get stuff done. So I literally bent over a group of fairly large saplings, but they were pliable enough and green, another concern, that I could pull them down to the ground with my left hand from where they grew out of the ground. And my left hand was holding them down. My right hand had the tool, the little chainsaw. And I literally started the blade sawing, and my hand, in my defense, was definitely about 8 inches away, holding those branches down. But because I'd never used one before, and not knowing what it would do, it's not like it got in the jam in the branch, because the branch was maybe an inch thick, but it made the blade jump. And when it jumped, it landed on my thumb. So instantly I stopped and looked down at my torn thumb glove, the glove that was now torn, and I saw red, and I said a quick prayer, and I panicked and thought, oh dear God, what have I done to my thumb? I can't be without a thumb, because there was no feeling. And I'm like, oh God, I've gone through nerves. So I said another quick prayer and thought, I've got to pull my glove off and see what's going on and get this taken care of. And lo and behold, it chewed my thumbnail and into the flesh under my thumbnail. But it barely bled, and it didn't go any further than just a really nice, ugly surface injury into the tissue. So at that point, I'm like, I've got to clean it. I've got to bandage it. It was that kind of pain that felt like I hit it with a hammer. It was that throbbing kind of pain. So I jumped in my car. I was by myself, and I had a mile to go out of the driveway and up into. So I hit the part of the interstate where it cut me off. There was no service. So I wanted to come on back to the house and sit down here with these house plans. So I thought I would just go ahead and finish a little bit more on my story, and then I'll be done. But the whole point of it is that by the time I got up the road, I needed to get some peroxide. I needed to get some bandages. I needed to see what really I had done. And I really hadn't done too much. By now it's throbbing. It's that kind of feeling where you smack your hand with a hammer. Yeah, I do that often. But it was pretty, annoying. But I was able to clean it, bandage it, and I was going to go back to the scene of the crime and start again, but I'm like, no, I kind of shook myself up. I thought, you are such a fool for not being more careful, but I really don't think I'm alone, and I really don't think that too many people that are in my situation, people that want to get started on projects or have never done this before, want to get rolling, want to get it done. So I just dove in, but it really was the beginning of a really good lesson for me to learn. And I know that there are so many people out there that do this stuff every day. And, I think Roger just, more than being worried for me, I thought really that that people like him don't have any issues. He's had tools in his hand since he was 12, and I'll be honest. I mean, I wore suits and heels for the greater part of my career, and then I became a hairdresser, and so, that's fun world, and makeup and hair and all that fun stuff. And not that I've not always been outside doing things in my garden, but not really. I mean, the past 15 years, I really kicked it in, and I love it. I absolutely could be out there in the garden all day long, out on the property doing whatever. I want to start a flower farm. So all those thoughts and trying to get the ground prepared for all of that, I'm learning, and I'll do any of it. I was a Girl Scout. I don't ever have any issue with tackling a project, but I am in a situation now where I can get hurt, so, and I think there are plenty of people out there like me who are rookies at projects and, do-it-yourselfers that people kind of not laugh at, but it's like, be careful with that. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it now. So beyond that, when I had to jump on the zero turn, that was another huge learning curve because I'd never been on one. I hadn't done anything more than push a lawnmower in a small yard. So knowing that Roger had too much on his plate to even think about keeping up with grass, and once we cleared the property and put grass seed all over, that's a lot of acres of grass that needed to be cut. And so I thought, I've got to learn this. We bought it. I sat on the tractor that we bought at his dad's property out in the backyard with Roger and his dad, and I know they're thinking, oh dear God, she'll never get this, because I was a nervous wreck. I was afraid to turn the key on. I didn't know how to do any of that. Well, fast forward, figured it out. No, none the less scared to death every time I get on it. I try to logically go through the steps of what I would do if something were to happen. And while that may sound silly to some people, man, you can kill yourself on those things. And that little bitty accident with my thumb really made me stop and be just hesitant to make a move without thinking about anything I do out there, because I'm up on scaffolding with Roger. Not a lot, but not compared to what he is, but any step in the wrong direction can be disaster. Climbing on top of the roof with him, I don't do it much, but when I do it, same thing. You got to think about what you're doing. And for somebody like me who high speed all the time, I've got to learn to slow down. And so just a little word of advice to anyone who's doing the same thing, or picking up a tool, or jumping on a zero turn. You know, his brother showed me one day, we had to go back and revisit an accident that happened close by where we live. A really popular place where people go, and it's a place to hang out, and it's a farm, kind of like a farm, not a stand, but it's a place where you go and you eat, and there's all kinds of farm things that you can do. And anyway, a very well seasoned guy that cuts the grass. He was a part owner, from what I think I understand about it, but he lost his life in a very routine day, I'm sure for him, of cutting grass. And when Roger's brother reminded me of that accident, I'm like, oh yeah. So, I don't go within 15 feet of the edge of our little pond. I take hills very slowly, whereas Roger can cut our grass in no time flat. Nope, it'll take me most of the afternoon, and I don't care. I go around corners slowly. I go up and down hills very slowly and very cautiously, and with the way that they've all taught me to approach a hill. If I'm in the least bit hesitant about an area, I'll go past it. There was one time, end of summer, that maybe spring, doesn't matter, but I kind of came around a tree where Roger had reminded me, don't forget there's a very short stump about an inch out of the ground. And I came around it, but grass covered it. I didn't see it and didn't really remember where it was, and the back wheel hung on it, and it kind of spun me around. And that was only about, 10 feet away from the edge of a decent size, I call it a cliff, it's a hill, but it would have been a disaster if I'd gone down it. So I just stopped. My heart was racing, and I turned the whole thing off and just called Roger. I'm like, afraid to take my foot off the brake even. I'm really nervous about it, but maybe better be nervous than not. So even in the evening, like when the dew is starting to drop, I'm done. If the wheels get in the least bit wet, I'm done. So I've learned, but I've had so many cuts and scrapes even from chicken wire. So there's a million different ways that you can hurt yourself when you're building fences, or putting in a garden, or putting together a garden bed, or building a raised bed, or, anything, hitting yourself, in the leg with a hammer. It's just a million different little things. So anyway, my lesson learned. Maybe I can help somebody else from causing themselves a dumb little accident like mine, but I just wanted to stop for a moment, take some time, and let you know that this little hill is coming together. It's going to be beautiful. I've really put a ton more plants in it than what it looks like here over the year and a half. And when it gets to springtime, I'll shoot some video of that so I can show you what I've done. But even that, I put stones in and a small set of stairs. And even that, you drop it on your foot and it's like, oh my gosh. So even carrying things, you have to be careful how you carry things. You don't want to bust your back, and you want to be able to do it for as long as you can. And you got to be careful of how you pick up things, and what kind of weight you push in a wheelbarrow, and what kind of things you push around on a dolly, wheelbarrow, all of it. How you shovel, if you shovel too long, you can jack up parts of your body. So you just have to be careful and be cautious. And to most people, it's no big deal. They just go out there and go at it. But my sister works for an orthopedic surgeon, and she said accidents happen every single day. And I just don't want to be another one of one. So, and I don't want you to be either. So be aware, be careful. I can't wait to show you the rest of all we've done.